So I wanted to take a look at Korora. This is a distro that's based on Fedora, and I wanted to think about using it in the future when I'm installing new computers that are going to use Fedora, because it already comes with Steam support and it comes with with all the media codecs and everything you need to have a successful distro in modern times. So I wanted to check it out in a VM, and I wanted to also use it to check out all the different flavors of desktop environments that they provide. I want to start with KDE because that's what I'm most familiar with. And so here's what it looks like when you first log in. They have an interesting, I think it's the default. Looks like the default theme more or less. And if you look at games, all kinds of games, all kinds of stuff. And so what I'm going to do is hit install Korora, and that should start. Okay, so English United States, that's good. Alright, so this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. Installation will be on the virtual disk, that's fine. So this is the exact same installer that Fedora has, and it's not bad, but it could be better, because you see it's not exactly clear what to do. It's not like the old days where you just hit next, 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 next. You just have these things here, and some of them have triangles on them, and it's not really as guided. I'm going to change the host name. This one's going to be Tuxi. So all my and then like there's just, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense to me the way that Fedora installs work. So as it's installing, everything, all of my computers are named after Mario characters. Korora is Maori for penguin, or little penguin. So I decided to name all of my VMs to have penguins from Mario games. So Tuxi is the little baby penguin from Mario 64. So let's set up a strong password for the root. And let's create a user. Go ahead and make him admin, give him a strong password. Okay. Alright. And installation continues. Now, the one good thing I will say that has improved since I started installing Fedora back with Fedora Core 1 is that the percentages actually are pretty accurate. Before, it would get to like 80%, and then it might, like 0 to 80 might take 5 minutes, and then 80 to 90 might take 4 hours, and then so on and so forth. Like it used to be ridiculous. Now it's pretty accurate and pretty quick, especially when you're doing a VM, because it's not reading from an actual disk, or a CD disk, and it's not reading from a thumb drive. It's just it's just reading from one disk to itself, basically. So it's pretty fast. So so far so good. And so what I'd like to do is, once the installation is complete, then I'll kind of do another video where I explore and see exactly what they've installed and what they've changed and what's the same and what's different. And when you have these derivative distros like Ubuntu from Debian or Mint from Ubuntu, sometimes it's hard to understand why it should exist, why you should use it. Sometimes you find yourself thinking, well, this is just a different skin. I could figure out how to do this on my own. get this theme or get these little programs or whatever, and then I'll just use the upstream distro. And the advantage you have there is that the upstream distro is almost always going to continue to exist. You know, Fedora follows from Red Hat, and Red Hat's been around forever, and Debian's been around forever. But there have been many, many, many distros that have been forked or maybe just remixed off of the originals that have died after a couple of years, when people have kind of gotten bored with doing it or realized that it's very hard to maintain a distro and do all the QA that's required to have a distro. So, you know, I kind of want to explore, all right, so if I, you know, what's so much better about installing Korora and having RPM Fusion and a couple other repos already configured versus just doing it myself? And are they changing enough that it's worth it, or too much such that if they die, now that I'm stuck with a bunch of machines where I can't go back to Fedora because they've changed so much? Now, sometimes, you know, it's not that bad. Sometimes you can easily go back and forth, but sometimes they've changed so much that now you're stuck. And that's one of the reasons why, unlike what I did here, you usually want to keep your home partition separate so that you can reinstall distros or install distros without losing all of your configurations. Because the nice thing about Linux is that it installs all your configurations for everything in your home directory. So if you save that, then you'll be able to have the same KDE across distros. It doesn't always work 100% perfectly, but it's pretty good. So it's at 50% here, and basically once this gets to 100, we're just going to reboot and then we'd be there. So for this, I think I'm going to end this first video here, which will just be the installation, and then the next video will be me exploring Korora's KDE, and I'll go ahead and install all the other variations, Cinnamon, Mate, GNOME 3, XFCE, and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to create videos for all of those because, as I've seen here, this is basically just Fedora's installer with a couple words changed and a little bit of the graphics changed. So there's really not any value in seeing the installation for each of those, but I think it would be valuable to kind of explore everything else together in video. So I will see you in the next video. Thank you.